one of the things I'm trying to get people to think about when you think about this new year, new you, is what can I do that is a small incremental improvement week over week, month over month? If you haven't read the book Atomic Habits, pick it up. It's that 1% increase every week that will put you at a huge improvement by the end of the year. If you don't know where to start, we offer a Childfree Wealth checkup. We'll go through your finances and your life with you and make a priority list. It's $250 and sign up on our website. We'll include the link in the show notes. But really, it's a diagnostic. Now, you don't have to work with us afterwards. Like, you can take it and just run with it and be like, here are the 4 things, 5 things, whatever it is that a professional says I should work on. You might not be ready to work on all of them. That's okay. Pick 1 or 2. Make an improvement.
Welcome to the Childfree Wealth Podcast, hosted by Bri and Dr. J, certified financial planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast.
So it's the new year, and it's the time when many of us start looking at it and kind of going, what do I want to do differently this year? And if you're anything like me and many of my clients, I'm done with 2024. Like, I'm ready for a new year. And I swear this happens almost every year. Like, you start off the year, you got great ideas, great plans, and then life just smacks you upside the head. Sometimes the year ends up better than you thought, sometimes worse than you thought, and sometimes you're just tired. I mean, let's be real about that. But what I want to do is I want to give you a framework of how to look at last year and use that to determine what you should do this year. And I'm going to take you through the process of the way I do it for me and for my family. And I use a model that comes out of the learning world in debriefing, and it's looking at what worked, what didn't, and what could be even better yet. And built in there is this assumption that there's some things that went well last year, some things that didn't, and some things that could be better. You'll notice what it doesn't have is like, I'm going to completely change my life in a year. That never works. The gyms know this. Like, how many people start a new gym regimen the first week of the year, and then by the second week, half the people are there. By the third week, maybe 10% of the people have started. And by the end of the month, there's a whole bunch of people stuck in gym memberships again that can't get rid of them. Like, this is just a pattern. And part of the issue is we can set our goals too far. And I've had a lot of issues with this personally. I've always been goal driven, and I've been trying to figure out kind of how to appreciate the gain versus the gap, and how to appreciate what you've done to improve and the journey you've been on rather than just the destination. So we had a book review on The Gap and the Gain, great book, but it's really talking about all too often we look at what we did not do versus what we did. And I'll use an example for this. I've been on a bit of a health journey for the year, done well. I've lost about 75 pounds, which is awesome. But I'll tell you, it's below my goal. And there's part of me, it's like, yeah, but you could have. And then there's another part of me like, when's the last time you lost 75 pounds, kept it off in a year, and are feeling better than ever? Give yourself a break, give yourself a little grace. And I think we all do that. And it's not just around health, it's around all areas of your life. So when I look at Childfree Wealth, my business, I had a lot of goals for the business for the year. Met some of them. We were working on a lot of things around the structure and the systems and how we want to do the company. Some of the growth goals we didn't hit, just didn't. As an entrepreneur, you always want to push the envelope and do more, and we didn't. We still did great, but it was like a really circuitous route to get there. And there are a lot of ups and downs, and that's just part of it. Overall, business is doing great. I mean, we're adding clients. People love what we do. Awesome. But didn't hit the goals. So it's this gap in the gain routine. And I think the other part of it is you start looking at, well, what got in your way personally, professionally, financially? And it's usually life. In our family, we lost a family member. That was rough. Had some health issues across the family, some hospital time. Tough year. And you got to give yourself a little bit of grace. Financially, I think we're doing okay. I still have a problem with Amazon. Amazon, yeah, they just delivered this morning. I've always buy a little more than I need there. And if you really want to freak yourself out, look at your total spending for the year. Amazon, DoorDash, few of those. Whew, that's a challenge. I know that's an area I need to improve. It's making some improvements, but it's a potential area for growth. You also can look back at your year and say, what did I truly enjoy? I had great times with my wife. We did a couple trips. I got to do a cool boating show. Like there's some really cool things did in the year. And you got to stop and go, wow, that was good. And give yourself credit for that. So it becomes this question about what worked, what didn't, what would you do differently next time? So for me, what worked? Well, health-wise, I made some big improvements. That's awesome. The business structure and where we're going is in the right direction. I'm good with that. Financially, we're stable. We're doing well. That all worked. Time with my wife, we got a bunch of it in there. That worked. Now, on the flip side, what didn't work? Well, I didn't hit all my goals. And I think the challenge is we tend to kind of harp on what we missed, but you can look at this step of like what didn't work and pull it apart. So for me, what didn't work on the health side, bunch of trial and error. So that kind of set me back a little bit, but I think I have a good path I'm on now. So that's awesome. On the business side, a lot of trial and error, which sounds like a reoccurring theme, but that kind of is how I live my life. Lots of experiments, lots of trying things. On the personal side, would like to spend more quality time with the wife, would like to spend more time traveling, but then that impacts the other goals. Like, that's one of those I got to work on. And that gets to the next question, which is what would I do differently next time? So you got a new year. What do you do differently? On the health, really, I'm looking to maintain the health, maybe lose some more weight. That's awesome. I'm not setting a goal number because I don't think that's going to help. On the business side, we got a lot going on. New book just came out, The Childfree Guide to Life Money. By the way, if you haven't ordered that yet, go do it. It tells you how new year, new you, how to dig in. So that's awesome. You got a lot of new clients coming in. That's awesome. And we're working on a new product called Childfree Trust. So we're going to actually be able to be child-free people's executor, power of attorney, all that fun stuff. Awesome. That's going to take over my whole year. And it'll probably take a little too much from my personal side too, but I need to be aware of it. This is going to be one of those years that I need to grind stuff out. And I talk a lot about file and that balance, and this is not going to be that year for me. I've been more and more thinking about things in a seasons of life phase. This year, this season is really about growth, launching this new business, this new structure, huge opportunities. Probably going to be sacrificing a bunch of things on the fun side, family time with the wife. It's going to have to be interesting. And that being said, we do have a trip scheduled for April. Cool. On the personal side, I think if I can maintain what we got from last year and kind of the time we spent together and the time we got to spend in trips and other things, I'd be happy with that. Now, what you'll see is in my plan for this year, I didn't set a whole bunch of big goals. And I didn't put a whole bunch of numbers behind it. And that's an area of personal growth I'm working on. I am very number driven. I mean, you'd be surprised, the financial planner wants to work on numbers. Yeah. But I'm finding that progress in a direction is more important than the absolute numbers. And I think that's the way you can think about your finances. I was just talking to somebody, a reporter, they were working on advice for millennial women in how to do their finances for 2025. Cool topic. And she said, what's your number one advice? And my number one advice was give yourself a little grace. Most people need to get on a budget, need to save, need to invest, those type of things. But they're not going to be perfect. If it's your first year on a budget, you're going to mess it up. Just you are. If you're trying to save for the future, save for your goals, you might not save as much as you want. You can't control the market. There's a whole bunch of things going on that you need to give yourself a little bit of grace. I'm not good at this. Okay. I'm admitting this. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of money. We were broke. But the one thing my parents always taught me was whatever you do, be the best at it. I've now spent years pulling that apart and realizing that's part of that like gold star. You got to get the gold star. You got to do great. You got to get the A's. And that's actually can have a negative impact on me and others. So I'm trying to embrace, okay, we make progress, give yourself some grace, and be happy for the progress. So when it comes to finances, we have the 8 no baby steps. So the first 3 steps are about getting out of debt, building an emergency fund. Number 4 is around saving and investing. And then we go into insurance, estate planning, planning for parents, and dying with zero. And really, if you can make one improvement, move up one step, awesome. So like, let me give you an example of this. Everyone listening here, everyone, I don't care who you are, what age, needs an estate plan. That needs to have a will, medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney. You need to have that in place. Maybe your goal is to put that paperwork in place. 58% of the US do not have an estate plan, and it can be very simple. We'll include in the show notes a link to the article we have on creating your estate plan, but it's pretty simple. The hard part is like, who's going to make decisions for you? Who do you want to give money to? Like, you have to think through the process, but the actual documents can be pretty simple. There's a service called freewill.com. You can literally do this for free. You might have to pay for a notary, $25 or something like that to get the actual sign, but not a big deal. And I bring this up as an example because it's a huge improvement in your financial plan to have your estate planning done. And it's something you can do on a weekend. It's something you can be like, yes, I made one more improvement. We have an episode on the podcast about forced adulting. If you really want to get crazy, go check out that episode and make a list of the things you need to start adulting. And by the way, it has nothing to do with age. Like, I got people in their 60s still need to do the adulting stuff. But make a couple easy things that you can check off and be like, yes, I made improvements. I have people say, well, I want to change my job this year. Awesome. What are you going to do to do that? Well, realistically right now, you need to network. You need to find people that are in where you want to go in order to get there. If you don't know what you want to do, maybe we got to create a plan to take a sabbatical. Sabbatical's kind of 6 months off, find yourself, figure out what you want to do. Cool. But then that takes a bunch of financial assessments and take a look through it. But you can set a goal that says, hey, this year I want to make steps towards having a new job. And you can say, hey, I want my goal to be, I want to have a new job by the end of the year. But there's so many factors outside of your control that you might be setting yourself up for failure. And that's one of the things I'm trying to get people to think about when you think about this new year, new you, is what can I do that is a small incremental improvement week over week, month over month? If you haven't read the book Atomic Habits, pick it up. It's that 1% increase every week that will put you at a huge improvement by the end of the year. If you don't know where to start, we offer a Childfree Wealth checkup. We'll go through your finances and your life with you and make a priority list. It's $250 and sign up on our website. We'll include the link in the show notes. But really, it's a diagnostic. Now, you don't have to work with us afterwards. Like, you can take it and just run with it and be like, here are the 4 things, 5 things, whatever it is that a professional says I should work on. You might not be ready to work on all of them. That's okay. Pick 1 or 2. Make an improvement. I have others that one of their goals for this year is kind of just to build a better community around them. Get more child-free friends. Get more connected. Awesome. Like, these are the type of things you can do that have a positive impact on you and your life. Now, if you go back in the archives for the podcast or in my blog, you will find an article or 2 or 3 or 4 from me talking about setting smart goals. And that's really about, making sure they're measurable and, timely and blah, 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 blah. I've actually evolved away from that. I was really working on saying you need concrete goals. You might. And it might be you need goals at a monthly level that then get you to a bigger goal as you go across. So for example, if you're trying to save more, for example, I'm saving towards my boat. You probably heard that before. You can put around X amount of money per month, per week, whatever it is, towards that. I'm not going to be able to do the whole goal this year, but I can make some progress. I'm sitting here talking to you, and I've got a picture on my other screen of my boat, and I know what I want. I know what the goal is. Cool. One of my hopes this year, I wasn't going to call it a goal because I want to make a hope on it, not necessarily count it, I have to, is I'm going to put a deposit down on ordering the boat, because it takes 2-3 years for them to even get you in a place so you can order it. It's a step towards a goal. That works. And if goals bother you, then just work on small improvements. If you're one of those goal-driven people, you always have to go, cool. I need you to find a measure that is not just a number. I don't know what that means. A lot of people are like, well, I want to be a millionaire. Cool. What does that get you? I want to be out of debt. Great. What does that get you? You need to be focusing on what is the thing in your life that will change that you're happy with. And you've got to be okay with there's struggle in there, and you've got to be okay with giving yourself a little grace, and you've got to be okay with making improvements. And sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The hard part is when you go on social media, everybody's like, oh, I just bought this new thing. I did this new thing. I like a traveler. And they just show the end goal, but they don't show the work behind it. We need to start appreciating the work behind it. Financial independence is a goal that I think everybody should work towards. That's not a hard and fast number. That is having enough money that you can make tough decisions and be okay. So I did an episode with Bernadette Joy, and we were talking about politics and some of these things. And she looked at financial independence as a way that she can then get up and move and go wherever she needs, no matter what happens in this crazy world. I was like, that's brilliant. Because a lot of people with financial independence, like I can retire or change my job or something. Those are all numbers things. But having the flexibility to follow your dreams, to move, to just say, oh, forget it. I hate the weather. I want to move somewhere else. That's big. It used to be called FU money, where you could tell your boss what to do with the job. And that's kind of the point. I've had so many people get to financial independence and they hated their job the day before. But then once they get the financial independence and realize they don't really need the job, they really start going, that job's not so bad. Because they can tell it to go away at any time. They don't have to worry about going up the ladder. They don't have to worry about kissing butt. They can just do their job. So financial independence starts with those basic steps. Get out of debt, get out of budget, get out of emergency fund, and then saving towards your goals. It also includes things like getting your insurance right, your estate plan, all that. But you really can make improvements every month. One of the other areas you can make improvements every month, and this is just top of my mind right now, is what is your plan for your parents? Now, that's jumping to no baby step 7, but I've had a lot of people this year who have been struggling with how do I help my parents through tough times? How do I help them through long-term care? How do I help them with their health scares? It's tough. So maybe your first step is, I'm going to have a conversation with my parents this year about their care. And we'll put a link. There's an article from Women's World I love that has a whole bunch of questions you can ask them. You can blame me. Dr. J says, I got to ask you these questions. Maybe your whole step for the year is, I'm going to ask them these questions. Now, that might take you 6 months to build up that courage. What I tend to find is that first time you go to ask those questions, it really feels awkward. But then it starts a good conversation and one you can plan around. See, the theme here is, how do I make an incremental improvement that next year at this time I can be proud of? Now, if you look at it that way, every year you're making an incremental improvement. And really, I'm asking the question of how do I make my finances more simple and or make my life more amazing? If I'm making an improvement every year towards that, then 5 years from now, I'm in a completely different place. Hopefully happier, hopefully more stable with my money, hopefully healthier. Like these are the things you can do. And what you get off is that roller coaster. Anyone that's ever tried to lose weight, that roller coaster off on and off a diet, it's like that's tough. And it does stuff to your health, to your wellness, to your mental health. It's bad. Same with finances. I'm broke, I'm rich. I'm broke, I'm rich. I'm broke. No, that's not safe. So what you need to be doing is making these small improvements. Now, one other thing to help you on that is to create an accountability partner. And especially for my soloists out there, one of the challenges of being solo is you don't have a built-in accountability partner. In couples, often couples are accountability partners for each other. But in solos, sometimes you need to find a friend or professional or someone else to hold you accountable to making small incremental improvements every month. And it's okay. Like, maybe January we made an improvement, February we didn't, March we did. Like, we're going in the right direction. But your accountability partner should be there to make sure you're holding true to the things that matter. Now, not everybody can do it the way I just did. Let's be real. I just told thousands of people on the podcast, here's my goals for the year. Not really goals. Thinks I'm doing incremental improvements, but like, I'm going to have to do one of these episodes a year from now and tell you how I did. So that is a dramatic way of doing accountability. For others, it's just like, hey, we're going to get together for coffee once a month. You hold me accountable. I'll hold you accountable to your improvements. It does work. The point is, it's building up a growth regimen. When we work with clients, we tend to meet with them on a monthly basis for the first year. That's because we give them 1 to 2 things to work on each meeting. They work on it. They come back the next month. We see what improvements there. Maybe we have to tune up what's there, or we pick up some new things and keep making improvements. So at the end of the year, they're like, wow, I have my life and finances in shape. Now, by the way, it's not always a year. Sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little shorter, but like you're making progress. And what I find is when you're making progress, you start sleeping better. You start enjoying things better. You start worrying less. And come on, in this political world, I need to worry less. For those of you that need to move this year, let's get that done. Let's do it earlier in the year if we can, especially if you have to move for safety issues. But we can do things and make these improvements rather than waiting. Like you start a goal week 1, and by the end of January, it's gone, and then we've got to wait for a whole nother year to start again. I've started somewhat, I'm not perfect at this, each month going, okay, what worked, what didn't, what would I do differently? And I do that more on the business side than the personal side. What I tend to find is on the personal side or health side, there's not huge changes month over month. But on the business side, making good data-driven decisions, what worked, what didn't, what would I do differently, same on the financial side, can help me. That doesn't mean I'm changing my investments every month, but I'm looking at my finances going, ooh, I spent too much dining out this month. Let me set a goal or try to cut that in half for next month. These are the types of things you can do that make incremental improvements. Another thing you can do, I love this one, is make commitment to read or learn something new each month. So yeah, shameless plug, Childfree Guide to Life and Money. It has a topic for each chapter, and it's one thing you can look at in your life, your finances, your taxes. And you could make a goal that just every month, I'm going to do one chapter, whatever's in there. There's a chapter in like, okay, what do I want? How does being a soloist or being a couple impacts my finances? I want to understand that and take a look at my life and finances under that lens. There's another chapter on like, how do I get my insurance right? Okay, that one's going to be a boring month, but let's go do it. And let's make one improvement. I've got a list of podcasts that I listen to. I'm trying to rotate between fun stuff I listen to. I like audiobooks, podcasts, same type of thing, fun stuff and learning stuff. And I'm trying to finish a book-ish of fun thing and a book-ish of business stuff or finance stuff or, more kind of learning stuff each month. Now, I say that I just got downloaded in my Audible a Brandon Sanderson book, his last one there. That one's going to take me like 5 months to get through. It's like 28 hours of audiobook. I love audiobooks, but that dude writes forever. I love his stuff, but like I swear he can't say hello without putting 3,000 words behind it. Okay, it's not going to be exact about one a month, but I can be making improvements. If you're learning one new thing each month, at the end of the year, you've done so much more than most people that then you'll look at next year differently. And don't worry, something bad's going to happen this year, like just is. It's going to set you back, but it might set you back from a higher spot because you've been making improvements. You've been safer. Once you get your emergency fund done, something bad happens, you just write a check. These are the type of things that having a good foundation gets you. And the point is that at the end of 2025, I want you to be able to look back and say what worked, what didn't, what would I do differently, and account for the improvements you've had rather than just counting for what you didn't do.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Please let us know your thoughts wherever comments are available or email us at media@childfreewealth.com. To stay up to date, find and follow Childfree Wealth on social media. If you're interested in working with us, learn more by visiting our website, childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.